Well, they say the two things you should never talk about at a dinner party are politics and religion. Many people ignore the first rule, talking politics until they're blue in the face. But very few people are willing to dive into a debate about religion. Our next guest is one big exception. His book, The God Delusion, is generating a lot of controversy and, in the process, a lot of sales. Author Richard Dawkins joins me now in studio. Pretty difficult subject to write about, and what I was going to ask you is when you set out to do it, knowing how you're going to put this together, you probably knew that there were going to be a lot of people that are going to be very angry about this book.
Well, I would never thrust it on a dinner party, I have to say. I suppose I knew they'd be angry. I think the anger is exaggerated. I think that religion has got used to getting a free ride.
How so?
Not just that people don't talk about it at dinner parties, but when they do talk about it, they treat it with a kind of hushed respect. And even people who disagree with religion usually go out of their way to say how much they respect it. Well, I think it's had too much respect, and it's time that changed.
And you're not singling out any particular religion in this case. When you
No.
refer to God, you're referring to God in every form.
Well, yes. I suppose I'm mostly referring to the Abrahamic God, the God of the Christians, Jews, and Muslims. But really, any kind of supernatural God needs to be looked at with the same critical eye.
And you unabashedly, in the book, and really the theme running throughout is that without religion, if there were no religion, we wouldn't have had a 9/11. We wouldn't have had a number of these atrocities. But in fact, there are a number of atrocities that happened that maybe religion wasn't behind.
Well, yes. I mean, I think actually that's a secondary theme of the book. The primary theme is that it just isn't true. There isn't a God, or there's no evidence for a God, and it's very unlikely. So rather than concentrate on the evils of religion, which I do as well, the first point I'd make is that it's not true. And I think that's important.
But you're saying it's not true based on scientific fact, that you can. But isn't that what faith is? Believing even though you don't see?
Yes, that is exactly what faith is, and that's what's wrong with it, because there is no grounds for believing in something that you see is putting it too narrowly, but for which there is no evidence of any kind.
But isn't there a difference between religious fanaticism, as in what would have been behind 9/11, and the religion that people need and want in their lives, the religion that does missionary work around the world, that is to the betterment of humankind?
There is, of course, a moderate religion, and there are many extremely nice people are religious. There is a danger, though, that people get lulled into a false sense of security by the niceness of moderate religion, and they forget the real nastiness of immoderate religion. And they also forget that immoderate religion is extremely numerous in the world. It's not as though the unpleasant aspect of religion is a kind of tiny fringe. It's very, very numerous in the Islamic world and in the United States of America and in other places too.
Well, you talk a lot, obviously, about atheism in the book, and interesting, you point out that an atheist is powerless against religion because atheists they're independent by nature, so they're not necessarily going to form a power group.
Well, there is that problem. We don't seem to have been very good at getting our act together politically.
But you even compare it to being gay. Like you say, 20 years ago, the way gays and lesbians had to fight is the way that these atheists, you say, they're stuck in the closet.
I don't know what it's like in Canada. I think that is what it's like in the United States. It's not what it's like in Britain or in Europe. I mean, Britain and Europe, you pretty much have to apologize if you are religious in intellectual circles. But in the United States, that's not true. I think rather few intellectuals in the United States are actually religious, but they kind of go along with respecting it. I hope that's going to change.
And with your book, what ultimately would you hope people will walk away from this with?
I hope people will walk away thinking critically for themselves. Don't take anything on authority. Don't say, I believe in it because it's my tradition. Don't say, I believe in it because either I or somebody else has had some kind of private revelation. Say, I'm only going to believe in this if there's any evidence for it. Richard Dawkins, fascinating book. Controversial and fascinating. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Still to come on Canada AM, how to avoid getting seasick over cruise vacation prices. We'll have some tips in the first installment of a 5-part travel series.